what do I want to say, the forest there.
Petrified forest.
Yeah, petrified forest. And we had our camping. I know when we slept, when we went to cabin camps is when we went out with our two little sons to have Tim go.
That was in 1939.
That's right.
So on your honeymoon in 1927,
we went to.
Did you stay in cabin camps then?
Well, no, I think we had just tents mostly.
Yeah.
In a tent.
Were there any cabin camps in those days in 1927?
Yes, a few, but we were kind of going on a very small amount of money.
Yeah.
And we could pitch your tent. Besides, we were younger there than then.
Right. What, is that where you had to back up the hill in the Model T, or was that earlier?
No, the Model T is when we backed up the hill on our trip to California.
So you really had to turn the car around and back up so the gasoline would feed into the carburetor. Okay. What, anyway, so you don't remember my grandfather sending oranges to us every Christmas?
Sure I do.
Oh, well, you didn't mention it. That's why I...
Well, you didn't ask me.
I see. You were supposed to remember that. Every Christmas we got a crate of oranges. Then how often did he come visit us? I remember at least twice, or maybe only once.
No, I think he came twice, but quite a few years between.
Yeah, like once was in Gardner, and once was when we were in Oswego, right?
That's right.
And when we were in Oswego, he, or was it in Gardner when he had to sleep in the same bed as I did, and he complained about my grinding my teeth?
You were always grinding your teeth.
Well, that's true, but and then he told me about the earthquakes out there, which sort of made me apprehensive about California. But
we never went back until you went back for schooling.
Well, you mean Dad went
yeah,
back
your dad.
in 1939 to go to USC to summer school. But you sort of felt cut off from your father, didn't you?
When?
When they got divorced.
Oh, of course I did. But I was a mature woman. And of course I never saw him, only when he would come back and visit, because when I was married, we didn't have too much money, so we didn't travel out there.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, really after the divorce, you sided more with your mother than you did with your father, right?
That's right.
Yeah, at least that was my impression. And but okay, why don't you tell us about the Dust Bowl dust storms in what, 30, 33, 34, somewhere in there?
Well, we were living down around Argonia.
Did we have dust storms in Argonia? I don't remember that. I remember in Gardner, but I don't remember in Argonia.
You don't remember in Argonia? We would hang wet sheets every Friday when I would clean. Invariably, Saturday, we would have a dust storm. So I would wet sheets and put them up at the door and over a window if I had a window in order to have the air. And you would sit out in the dust of the street as a little boy playing in the dust.
So what, did I warn you about the dust storms coming, or?
No,
I didn't.
The wind warned me.
I see. So why do you think it was happening Saturdays?
Because I cleaned on Fridays, and then invariably it would have a dust storm. I remember that.
So were there many in Argonia? 5, 10?
Many dust storms, you mean?
Yeah.
Dust storms?
Were there a lot of them? I don't remember any of this.
Oh, yes. Feet.
Well, what, 5, 10, or 20, or what?
Well, in the summertime, when it was hot and dusty, we would get dust storm invariably on Friday, because I always cleaned on Friday. You know, you wash on Monday,
Yeah.
you iron on Tuesday,
Yeah.
then you do a little baking on Wednesday,
Right.
and then you have a little rest maybe. But the two little boys were sitting out in the dusty street, so you had trouble with them, and you were the older of the little boys.
No, Bill wasn't born then. You talking about Bill, or you talking about
Yeah.
some other boy?
Sure, Bill was born then.
In Argonia?
He was not born in Argonia, but he was born.
He was born in Manhattan.
That's
but
right.
if I recall, we went from Chanute to Argonia to Manhattan, where he was born.
Well, then it was you sitting out there with the storms.
Well, I could have been doing that too, but.
But I remember the dust storms and you sitting out.
In the middle of the street, huh? Okay. All right. So then, tell us something about Manhattan. What sort of place was that like? That was what, 30? When I would have been.
You were about 3
years old, so that would have been 31.
Let's
So, but the dust storms did not affect the farm in Halstead, right? They never lost any soil from.
But we were at Argonia.
I know, but I'm talking about the family farm in Halstead. Was that affected by dust storms?
Well, naturally, it's down in that area, so it would be affected somewhat with it.
Yeah, but the only thing I really remember that was bad were the grasshoppers that came in what, 37 or 38 or whenever, that one year where we got up early in the morning and would go out and mix poison bran mash. But that's the only time I remember anything ever happened to the farm in a negative way.
Well, that plus the dust storms helped came to get sort of in there. I mean, we had dust storms just as dust storms.
Yeah.
Because it was so dry. We had so much need of moisture
Yeah.
that the ground became too loose.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so we had that, and then maybe several years later we would get floods. So that's the farmer's problem.
Yeah.
And we've been having a farm, had trouble with that.
Oh, just stop this thing. Okay, let's talk about Gardner for a while. That was the place where the Santa Fe Trail and the Oregon Trail split to go to their various destinations. And Dad had been a coach there prior to his coming back as superintendent, right?
Yes.
So tell us about what he did at Gardner in the way of activities.
Well, he had been a coach there before we were married, and he was called back this time as superintendent of schools. And at that time, I believe, what were you?
Oh, I was 3 or 4 years old.
Yes, and we had, we were very welcome back there because Tim had been popular as a coach. So we came back as superintendent and settled there for a while, feeling that we were among friends because we had returned to friends. When we were first there, we somehow acquired a police dog, and she was Queen, and we had this small child about, well, just a toddler. You were older,
Yeah.
But he was a toddler, and Queenie would walk to the edge of a terrace and step down and wait for the baby to come and put his hand upon Queenie's shoulder, and she would help him down.
I don't remember that. I remember Queenie keeping Bill away from that wall, that terrace drop-off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember him stepping down.
Oh, yeah, she always did.
So what? Tell them about the Trailblazers, though.
The Trailblazers, do I remember that?
Well, yeah, they didn't have a name for their team, and so I thought that Dad had dreamed up the name Trailblazers.
I don't remember that.
I thought you sent the monogram or the block letter that said Trailblazers on it. The first one was ever made back to the school for their museum.
Well, you see, we sometimes forget things.
Mm.
Especially
Anyway,
when you get older.
I see. Well, I sort of remember that. And I remember them putting up the water tower there, and in the spring you could, this had to be when I was in grade school, so I would have been 35 or 36. They were riveting all day long while we were in class. So that was sort of a distraction. And I also remember when I had double pneumonia there, and
Well, I remember that very well.
yeah, well, I would think you would.
Take you into Kansas City to the Bell Memorial Hospital, stay with you, sit by you day and night. I remember that Dr. Orr.
I don't remember that man. What?
Well, he was our doctor, and he was in his middle age, and he would come in and he'd say, "Now, Mother, what do you think about the boy today?"
Mm.
And he said, "Because you are sitting here by him all the time, you can tell me what changes have taken place."
Mm.
So that was the way we spent, a week there?
Oh, I thought I was in there a total of 6 or 7 weeks.
Well, it was quite a while. And then finally you got better, and they didn't know what the trouble was. I asked the doctor, I said, "What do you call this?" And he said, "We don't know." He said, "The only thing that we can think is interstitial pneumonia," and he said, "All we know about it is a paragraph just about 2 inches high."
Mm.
So we just have to work it out and stay. And they put me on a cot in the room,
Yeah.
and I just stayed there.
I don't remember all that, but I remember going back out to Gardner, and I was so weak I couldn't even sit up for a haircut. But
Yeah.
I must have missed. Well, I wasn't old enough to be in school then, was I? So
Yes, you were in the first grade,
oh, I guess that's right.
because then we had to work out a way of making up what you had lost.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's right. Okay. It's my impression that we moved so many times to these various towns because Dad was such a strict disciplinarian, and eventually he would get people unhappy with him. Is that essentially correct?
Well, you remember he was also coach.
Well, yeah, but not in Gardner, and well, he was coach before, but he wasn't coach when he was superintendent.
Well, war came at that time.
No, war came when we were in Oswego. We moved to Oswego
that's right.
in,
That's
what,
right.
1940.
That's right. Well, you see, he had been coach there at Gardner, and they called him back after
Yeah.
we were married. And that's when he had gone back as the principal.
Yeah, but then we moved to Oswego in 1940, and we lived there, what, 6 years?
Yes, I guess